Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Jensen. I am the CEO of RocketFuel, and with me today I have Ben Yankowitz as well. Ben is our CFO, and we try to have these updates with investors and potential investors from time to time, every 2 months maybe, or if we feel there are news that we want to share with you. Of course, you're always welcome to contact us at any time with any questions that you may have. So today I'll run through the presentation. For those of you who have attended before, you know part of the story. It's always a balance between providing info to the people who have never heard the story versus those of you who attend on a regular basis. So I have 2 or 3 slides, max 5 minutes on what we do. If some of you have not heard that story before, please go to our YouTube channel to listen to some of the events that we did last year and the beginning of the year that talks more about the business opportunity and the technology in detail, including providing a demo of the product. But let me get started. And I always start by just putting everything in reference. What is it that we do? We are a software company, and we provide the infrastructure so that e-commerce merchants, so that means any company that is selling goods online, either on the web or in their mobile apps, we allow them to accept payment in either cryptocurrencies or bank transfers. So we're really either an alternative or an addition to paying with credit cards. And really the opportunity here is that once again, there's a new technology that is going to disrupt an old-fashioned industry which has a lot of problems. The payment industry is about 50 years old based on physical credit cards. We believe it's going to go digital, and really there are many problems with the current system, including very high fees, 3 to 8% that the merchants pay, a lot of fraud. We hear about these hacks all the time. There are chargebacks, there are declines, just a lot of problems in the current industry that is all adding up. And those are the issues that we are addressing with our solution. And it's, of course, we have a great solution, but it's really the new technology. It's cryptocurrencies and it's blockchain technologies. And this is no different than in the late 90s when the internet came about and said, there's a new and better way of doing things. It's no different than when the mobile phone came out in the 2000s and there was a new way to do many things with home banking and so on. And we saw it with electric vehicles. And now we have it again one more time. And it's still in the early days, just like it was in the late 90s with the internet, but that's also the opportunity. So the way it works is basically, this is one of our customers. If you want to buy an airline ticket, you can go in, instead of paying with a credit card, you can see in the upper right hand or in the right hand side of the screen, you can pay with crypto either from an exchange, for example, Coinbase, or from a wallet where you may store all your cryptocurrencies. So it's super easy, point and click, and which is how it should be. After you've made your purchase, then both the merchant as well as the shopper has a dashboard where they can follow what was going on. The shopper can see all their transactions. The merchants can analyze all the customer data and behavior, and that is very, very helpful for them. By the way, we are going to have a Q&A at the end here. If you have questions, please type it in the Q&A window, and we'll try to get to it. We will get to it. Okay, so that is really super fast what it is we're doing. And this is an exciting time for crypto. I'm flying down to El Salvador in 4 or 5 hours for a big crypto conference. As you may recall, they are one of the countries that have fully adopted cryptocurrencies as a legal tender for the entire country. And I can't wait to, I'm meeting with government officials as well as businesses out there. And I'm really excited to see how an entire country is transforming everything they do, whether it's B2C or B2B payments. We are behind here in the US. China is far ahead, and so it's good to see outside the US how these technologies can benefit all the entire ecosystem in a certain country, because we'll have the same benefits here as we roll it out. Okay, so where are we as a company? Well, we are, just as a reminder, 14 months old, 14 and a half months old. I joined 14 and a half months ago. We started from scratch. The goal, and we've been keeping you informed every 2 weeks, 2 months, I mean, and a year ago I said, well, the plan is in year one to build the product, to prove our product market fit. We'll get our initial customers, we'll get our initial revenue, and then year two, we will go to market and scale revenue. And that's exactly what we did. We launched and delivered the product ahead of schedule in Q2 last year. No, this year, I'm sorry. But that was, what, 8-9 months in, which is, we're pretty proud of the fact that we were able to bring on a team, define the product, develop it, and deliver it in such a short time. So first take mark there. Then this year, it's all about generating revenue, generating more partners, getting customers live. For that, we raised $5 million last week. And so now we have the required capital to deliver on our business plan. About 3-4 weeks ago, at the annual Money 2020 conference in Las Vegas, which is the biggest payment show in the US, about 25,000 people, we announced our first really large strategic deal with ACI Worldwide. ACI Worldwide is one of the largest payment processors in the US. We'll talk more about that deal later. They have 80,000 merchants, and we're currently integrating with them, and they're rolling it out to their customers. We also announced a disruptive pricing model. We think that this technology will disrupt the current payment industry, not just technically, but also commercially. We announced that we're going to be charging 0% to the merchants. So where they're used to paying 3 to 5%, now it's 0. It's a special promotion we're running this quarter, and we're testing it to see what the reaction is, and then determining whether we want to do that moving forward. But really, just like Robinhood disrupted the stock trading business, we want to be the Robinhood of the payments industry and do the same thing. I'll talk a little bit more about this. We also announced a disruptive partner model where we are sharing all of our revenue that we generate with our partners, not just the way it is today, where partners only get a portion of a part of the revenue. For example, when I talk to partners and I ask them, do you make money on all the profit that the banks make when you don't pay off your credit card? The answer is no. Do you make money when there's profit made when I buy a beer on my vacation in Mexico because they make money on the exchange rate? And the answer is no. That's not fair. We want a more transparent model, and that's what we announced. Generated a lot of interest there. We are advancing our IEO process, and we will be doing that next year in 2022, which is also the year where we plan to be uplisted to NASDAQ. So that is at a high level. And let me go into a little bit more detail here. I may have mentioned this before, but our new investment really enables us to focus on executing the business plan, hire the people that we need to take advantage of the opportunity in front of us. As I said, we have a development team. Of course, we need to continue expanding that, but really most of the money is going into sales, marketing, and compliance personnel. So we're hiring salespeople, marketing people, PR people all over the world. But it also allows us to hire the people that we can deliver on this ACI partnership, which is very important for us. And we're hiring some people for that as well. So that's really what we're going to spend the latest money on. Let me just go into a little bit more on the Money 2020 conference in Las Vegas. I mentioned already most of this, the partnership with ACI. Really, at the end of the day, they needed to add crypto payments. And they did that because the customers were asking for it. And it's really, I mean, today they have 80,000 or more than 80,000 merchants, and they're processing their credit cards every single day. And these are large merchants. These are airlines. These are very large franchise-based systems. I can't mention the names, so I'm going to mention, as an example, could be Burger King or McDonald's, but it's in that, I don't actually know if they're customers. I was thinking about somebody else, but it's in that size and category. So these are very large merchants, and many of them have requested the ability to pay with crypto. I saw last week AMC, the movie theater chain, they're rolling it out now. I was down in my local cafe here in San Francisco, and you can pay with crypto there. So it's definitely coming all over, even this country. I mentioned the new disruptive pricing model, zero merchant fees for life, and I'll talk a little bit about how we will make money, because we've gotten a lot of questions for that, and there's not really a lot of magic to it. So I'll talk about that in my next slide. So let's do that right now, because I also talked about the partner compensation model. How do we make money? It's very simple. We make money the same way the current credit card industry makes money. Today, if you look at the ecosystem within the credit card industry, they make money from a number of revenue sources and streams. One is the transaction fee, which is 3 to 8% that merchants pay. That's one way they make money. They make money on all the loyalty programs, mileage programs from the airlines and so on. They make money on, as I write here, consumer credit, which is when we don't pay off our credit cards, they charge us 20% in interest. They make a lot of money on that. They make money on the exchange rate when we travel overseas. They make money on the new payment installments with buy now, pay later. Very, very profitable for everyone. And then they make money on various, when they sell a lot of the data. They have a lot of data about all the transactions and purchases that are being made. We do too. And you can sell that data in various forms. And then they make various commissions from banks and others. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different revenue sources. And those are, of course, available to us as well. And the only thing is that we've cut out one of them, the first one. So, and the reason we can do this is, again, a much more efficient technology and model, because there is less fraud, because there are no chargebacks, because there are no declines. We have to make a little bit less money. Also, there are fewer intermediaries. Today, in the current credit card industry, there are a lot of people who need to make money. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, you have the payment service provider, you have the sales agents, you have the banks. So there's like 6 or 7 people who need to share all these profits, and that is being greatly reduced. It's a little bit similar to the taxi model, where it has it basically took out some of the intermediaries in the middle, and therefore it's a more efficient model. Fewer people need to make money, and therefore the people who are a part of this model, they're able to make more money, and that's the same for us. So it's going to be a very profitable business, and just like people were questioning, if you will, Robinhood and their business model early on, well, it seems to work pretty well for them, and they grabbed a lot of market share, and they disrupted the market, and they are a multi-billion-dollar business today. We intend to do exactly the same. So if I look ahead, one thing that I keep mentioning is that we're looking at cryptocurrencies as an infrastructure technology, not an asset. So in the last 6-7 years, people have been investing in cryptocurrencies as an investment, as an asset. And that's great. But what we're looking for is or not looking for, looking at is crypto as a technology to enable us to make the existing processes much more efficient and productive. So as I mentioned, cryptocurrencies are being adopted around the world as we speak. Go to China. As I said, I'm going to El Salvador this afternoon. Many large and small countries either have adopted it or have announced their plans for adopting it. And my prediction is that the United States will announce their crypto plans in 2022. I saw this to the left, this article from Yellen, was it last week or the week before, where they're talking about stablecoins are a compelling payment option, but they need to be regulated. Totally agree with that. It's a compelling payment option. Why? Because it's a stable coin. There is no volatility. A lot of people are talking about crypto as, oh, but it's so volatile. No, depends on what currency you choose. Just like regular currencies can be volatile if you choose a Venezuelan currency or maybe something in Africa, but there are other currencies that are very stable. And the same thing within the crypto world, there are very stable cryptocurrencies. They are 100% stable because they're pegged to the US dollar. And that's what Mrs. Yellen was talking about, where she says, well, those kind of currencies could be very compelling because they have a lot of technical advantages, but they need to be regulated. We totally agree with that. There needs to be regulation so that we can all use it safely and with confidence. And this is what I expect the US government to announce plans for next year. And the important part as an investor is when that happens, it will validate the technology. It will create a rush to adapt all of the current systems to be able to support this new technology, these new cryptocurrencies. All the big ERP systems from SAP and Oracle and Microsoft need to be adapted. Payment system, every software vendor out there is going to be working on adapting that, and it'll be a rush. And the nice thing is, we'll be right there, ready for it to take off. Yes, so that's I believe the business or the investment opportunity. I would also say this. I get asked a lot of times, well, what's the exit strategy for RocketFuel? And right now we're focused on building a valuable business. As we grow our traction, our revenue, our volume, the valuation of our company will grow. And as we get more and more traction with large partners like ACI Worldwide and others, people notice. They noticed 2 weeks ago. They said, how did that happen? I mean, these are big people, these are big companies. Did they really do an in-depth evaluation? Yes, they did. And they found our technology to be the best. So what's going to happen then, I believe, because I've been out here in Silicon Valley for many, many years, I've seen it again and again and again, that the large companies are never the ones that innovate, and they're never the first movers. And then when the market starts moving, they realize, wow, we have to be a part of this, and now they're behind. And so they will start buying up companies. And then I've been in this situation before. This is my 6th startup. What happens is once you have that traction, the offers start coming in and saying, well, you have interesting technology, we'd like to buy you before you get too big. I'm not saying that's what we'll do, but we'll of course look at it. We have to. That's our duty to our shareholders. And depending on the situation, we will either sell or we will continue if we believe that we can drive this much further and be the next Robin Hood and take it all the way to the top. Who knows? Irrespective of the two avenues, it will generate return for our shareholders. So we believe, in conclusion here, that our timing is right. Our technology obviously is right. We've proven the product market fit, and we have the right team. The team that I've put together are experienced people who've done this before. We've built companies before. We have made mistakes before, and therefore we make fewer mistakes than we used to when we were younger. And and then so that is all we can say to our investors is, of course, we are taking everything we learned. We want to add a few zeros at the end and make this an even bigger success than we have in the past. So I think with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'll open it up for Q&A. So if you have questions or comments, please type them in, or maybe we can open it up for Abby. I think we're not that many, so we can open up the microphones. I'll take some of the questions that have been typed in, but if other people have questions, they can speak up later. So there's one there, Peter, with all the interest with your sector, how long before your company is in play for takeover target? Yes, so it happens very quickly in terms of when you become a takeover target, because once the larger companies, they realize that they need this technology, and we've already seen an acquisition. There's a company called Coinify that got acquired 2-3 months ago, and they're in the same space as us very early on. So it is already happening. We probably wouldn't be interested now, because they would buy us primarily for our technology, because we're just about to take off with commercial traction. And once we have commercial traction, obviously will be worth more than just for the technology. But we could sell the company tomorrow if we wanted. I could hire a banker, shop it around, we could sell it. But we want to get a lot more return on the investment for our shareholders. So in terms of whether you will see the company on NASDAQ in 2022, yes. Well, so that's the plan. And those of you who follow us, you can see that the banker we chose to help us raise the money has a lot of experience in this and has taken many companies on NASDAQ. So we have the right people in place, and therefore it's our plan, and we fully intend to deliver on that. Okay. What are your thoughts on the masses of people using crypto to buy things? Yeah, what are my thoughts on the masses of people using crypto to buy things? Crypto seems like it's more of a trading vehicle. I agree. This is what I was saying earlier on, that in the last 6-7 years, people have been buying crypto a lot as an investment vehicle. But now they want to spend it. They haven't been able to spend all that crypto because it's just being rolled out in the first areas of our ecosystems right now. It wasn't until actually this Saturday when I was down in my local cafe that I could pay with crypto. So and I would say less than 5% of merchants today accept crypto, and it's clunky. It's not done well technically, and that is how it always is with new technology. It is rolled out, and one of our strengths and our competitive differentiators is that we have made it super easy to pay with crypto, and that's going to have to drive it. That will drive mass adoption. But so it is true that it's been a trading vehicle because people have not been able to spend it, but they want to spend it. And if you think about it, who is it that wants to spend it? There are certain industries, verticals, that already here in the US are very open to this. And they are open to it because the problems that they have with the current payment systems are so big that it makes sense for them. So you have industries like gaming, you have industries like the adult industry, and other specific verticals that have a large interest in adopting it right now. But then if you look at it geographically, and as I mentioned, they're going down to Latin America, South America, they are adopting it super fast. Why? Because they have a volatile fiat currency, and therefore this makes it more stable. They have a lot of what people don't always remember, and this I've seen politicians here in the US talk about that. For example, Elizabeth Warren. The people, a big group of people who will benefit from cryptocurrencies, it's the people with less money. It's the poor people, it's the unbanked and the underbanked people. And this is what's driving it outside of the US, but will also drive it here. And let me give you an example. If you're some of the lowest paid people here in the country, then you pay the same fee to the bank when you write a check and there's no coverage on it, or whatever, overdraft protection and so on. It's $25. And if that happens to me, first of all, it does not happen to me very often, right? Because I'm probably making a little more than they do, and so it doesn't happen often. But when it happens, that $25, I'll manage. But if you do that 4 times in a month because you're the single mother and living in the projects, it hurts. And sometimes they can't even get a bank account, and they pay fees. And so what I see a lot of is, and I'm involved in a project here in the US, a lot of interest in using this technology, because with crypto, you do not need a bank. You have a phone and you have your currency on your phone. And as long as you can pay with it and you can receive your food stamps or your salary or your pension directly in crypto, which is, by the way, going to happen once the country announces their plans, then suddenly you can get your pension, you can get your salary, you can get all of that. I mean, you go to Miami today, the mayor receives his salary in crypto. So it's going to be rolled out, and that is one area that is really going to be taken off. But I think that I've given this example before. You go to any United States university and ask how many own crypto. You'll see more than 50% of those young people own crypto. And in 2 years, when they get their degrees and they get out and they get their first job, they're going to be asked, do you want your salary into an old-fashioned bank account, or do you just want us to pay you in the crypto version of the US dollar, completely stable, no volatile, right into your phone? And they're like, hey, they're going to say one of two things. Either, I don't have a bank account. And then they go down to the bank and have to fill out stuff, and they realize all the fees they have to pay. And they're like, why would I want to do all that stuff? I already have my wallet on my phone. Just pay it into my phone. I could buy coffee. I can buy everything with it. Why would I need a bank account? I don't like those fees. I need to send some money to grandma down in Mexico once in a while. I have to pay fees every single time I do that through the current system. I don't have to do that if I use crypto. So once again, the younger generation will be the one that that adopts technology faster, and that's going to drive all this, just like it drove the Robinhood explosion. Yeah, so they'll say either I do have a bank account and I hate all the fees and the complexity and all the signatures I have to sign and all of that, or they'll say I don't have a bank account and why should I? In other countries where, like, this is why they're running this big pilot project out in China. 60 million people they've given a digital wallet. And by the way, that's the same thing I heard they did down in El Salvador. All these people, they don't have bank accounts. And so it's just an alternative to paying with cash, but it's digital. So that was a long answer, but you asked my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. This is the new way of storing money and using it and spending it, whether you're paying your utility bill. I mean, it's not going to take long before the utilities are saying, yeah, you want to pay with crypto? Why not? So yeah, it's going to take off. And just look outside the US and see how it already has taken off. Why would it not happen here? Of course, there are some large financial organizations who have an interest in stopping this because they're making a ton of money on us right now. But it's usually technology, you can't stop it if it makes sense. So, okay, what else do I have here? There's some. How many players are there in this space? It's all startups. Not lots. There are 3 to 4 that I can think of that are focused in this space, and there's going to be more. And I mean, the question I ask myself and everybody is, in 2-3 years, can you imagine any e-commerce merchant that does not accept crypto? I can't. It's like year 2000. There's going to be a rush to adopt it. And that's why, of course, it's an attractive market. That's why we are there. That's why it's attracting other people. So there are competitors, and that validates the market. It's all about who executes well. We have the track record of doing it before. Sold my last company to IBM last year, sold one to Cisco. We've done it before, we can do it again. So then there's a question. I know NFTs are not in your industry, but are aware of this disruption. I'm not sure what the question is, but of course we are. NFTs is interesting, right? That is basically a way to digitize certain assets. It's not really in our industry. What matters is that you can pay with those assets using crypto. So it's just another use case for the usage of crypto. And they keep popping up. And it's very simple. Today, if you look at all the fees that are being paid in the ecosystem with the current payment systems, it's 5% of all volume. Who pays that 5%? We do as consumers. It's a lot of money. If you can take half of that or 2/3 of that out because of new technology, it's a no-brainer. And if there's a strong business case, it will happen. And there is a very strong business case here because it's just very inefficient. Think about it. Think about every time we read how many millions of credit card accounts that have been compromised. It's not a sustainable way of doing business, because what happens is, all this data is lost, but the consumer loses confidence, which means when I go to a website that I don't know because I clicked on, I want to buy that sweater. I went into Facebook and I wanted to buy that sweater, and it looks really cool. And I click through and it says, provide your credit card number. I'm like, I've never heard of this company. I wonder if that's a Chinese company and they're just gonna, do they store my data correctly? I have no problem giving it to Amazon, but a website that I've never heard of. And then I click all the way through. They spent the money getting me in as a lead, and then they and then I drop off. It's called cart abandonment. It's about 20% of all transactions that are being abandoned, and it's because people don't trust the system. That's a problem. So let me see here. There was one more. Yeah, so that's about the NFTs. Okay, any discussions with companies like Coinbase or Kraken? Yes. In fact, I'm meeting with some of them this week. They are very interested in what we're doing, obviously. Why? It's very simple. If you're an exchange, well, how do they make money? Every time there's a transaction. So what they don't want is me buying Ether or Bitcoin and having it sit there as an investment. I mean, they want it, but they would rather me trading. And of course, if I trade, that's nice. But if I don't, they don't make any money. Now, if I start buying a sweater using the crypto that is in Kraken, for example, they make money on that. And so they are very, very interested in how can we drive more commerce through their platforms. And since we connect directly to them, they like us. Okay, am I concerned about government interference? Yes and no. So let's just remember here, we support 200 countries. There's going to be regulation all over the world. And right now, some countries are much more open-minded about this. And of course, that's where we go first. But we are, I mean, we're doing a lot of crypto. If you look at the crypto business in the US, there's a lot of business here. There are a lot of people paying with crypto today. And that's because it's a big country. So, but for example, we see a very large interest in the cannabis industry because they're not allowed to process credit cards. And a lot of their customers are young people who already own crypto. So there are pockets in the US that are already doing a lot. But so I'm not concerned. I welcome regulation. I don't always like it, I'm sure, but it's better to have regulation where we have a level playing field, where the government is acknowledging the potential and endorsing it, setting the rules, and then we can execute on that. It also creates confidence with all the users and the shoppers. So yes, I'm not concerned. I'm always a little concerned if I don't like one specific rule in one specific country. Maybe in the UK, I don't like how they do it. It's okay. Then I go to France, I go to Germany, I go to any of these other countries, Spain, um, that has different legislation. How are you going to address the stock price and get the company more exposure? How am I going to address the stock price? As I said before, the stock price long term is a function of our traction. And so the focus that we have right now is having high volume, meaning a lot of money going through our system, because we can then optimize our revenue models for that. I'm sure we'll learn a thing or two about how to optimize revenue. And so the important part is to grab market share, just like most other high-tech companies do, and then optimize the revenue model after that. But at the end of the day, we need to generate revenue and we need to generate volume. If we do that, we're proving that this works. We've already done that in that we have had revenue the past couple of quarters, very little, but now, I mean, the focus was to get the product out. Now this year, it's all about generating revenue. It's about capitalizing on our partnerships. And if we deliver that traction, the stock will go up. What are we doing to get more exposure? Well, as I mentioned, we raised money now, and we're going to spend more money on getting the word out. We're spending money on PR and on advertising and all of that. We have already been on the national business TV channels several times, and I think I saw my PR team said there's another opportunity soon, and so I feel we're doing fairly well for a 14-month-old company. You look at the startups in the Valley and ask them how often are they on national TV. It doesn't happen too often, but we can always do better. And now that we have the traction, or we get the traction, and we have the money, we will invest in investor relations and PR, and we will continue to get the word out there. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. But I think also the partnerships that we are generating will give us much more exposure. It's one thing for us to say to the world we're great. What matters much more is that others, large corporations, are saying they're great. And as we close individual deals with individual large merchants and other partnership deals, the word is going to get out there and get around. So I think I covered everything. Abby, are there any more questions that you can see? I went through both Q&A and chat.
I believe Stanley is typing something out.
All right,
in the
Stanley.
Q&A.
Okay. Or Stanley, feel free to just speak up if you'd like.
Can you hear me, Peter?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad. First of all, about 20 years ago, I'm sure many of the people remember on this call, those of us who went to China, the first thing we had to do was open up a credit card account because you couldn't take more than $10,000 in cash out of the country. So that was kind of the norm, that if you were going to do business in China, most of the money had to stay there. The only thing you could get was kind of a debit card. And for many, many years, we worked off that premise. So I think your comments about getting into these countries and doing business under their current rules is extremely accurate. And I think we're going to be seeing more of it. And many of us are used to having to do business like that in China. The other thing I was going to comment about is maybe you could get a little bit more granular on the numbers. I know that Goldman Research put out a report earlier this year. One of my questions that I think got lost in the queue was about additional research coverage, and even some of my friends who are analysts who I think eventually will cover the company. But on a granular basis, can you and Ben talk a little bit about what 2022 looks like without giving away too many numbers, but just some general guidelines of what the year or the first 6 months of the year might look like?
You're talking about in terms of revenue.
Yes.
So
we really can't tell you anything specific, Stan. Maybe Peter, you can talk in general terms, but
yeah,
we can't give out numbers.
this is the lawyer speaking, huh? He always gets worried when I get this question. What is he going to say? No, I mean, here's the thing. First of all, I wish I was a 10-year-old company with a history, because it's a little easier to predict. Those of you who have been dealing with early stage companies, I mean, imagine you ask Coinbase that 6-7 years ago, or some of the other it's just very hard to predict. However, so I actually, all I can say is that we are going to have a lot of revenue next year. You take a partnership like ACI, that's just one partner. They have 80,000 merchants. I was out of the conference in Vegas. I met with one of their head of sales, and they mentioned they had a lot of interest from some of their customers already, incoming interest, right? So they are not all going to adopt this next year, but if 5% of those 80,000 are interested in adopting crypto, we will be plenty busy. And is all their revenue going to move from credit cards to crypto? Nope. But some of them will have a big portion, those in those verticals that I talked about. Some of them will have less, but it's going to happen. It's like the early days with the internet. Are people going to change from going down to Nordstrom and buying their goods to online? No, not immediately, but it's going to happen over time. And some industries moved really, really fast. So we need to execute on that plan that we have for going to market. We need to get more partners, we need to get them live, and then we need to get a number of large individual merchants, marquee names that go live with us. But I cannot, I don't want to say anything about revenue because it can be really high.
Let's turn to adoption if we can, just for a minute. So, the key phrase we always hear on Wall Street is, hey, there's the adoption has taken place, and more joint ventures, strategic alliances, customers out there have adopted the method of payment. Who do you see besides the people you have already as where you need an adoption theory to take place that can kind of confirms that you guys are here?
Yeah, I would say all the big established players in the payment industry are thinking about this now. They are looking at what ACI did and others and like, okay, we need to have a strategy for this. And the banks need to look at this. All the banks. I mean, I don't know how many banks I spoke to at that conference, maybe 15. And you know what? History repeats itself. I asked them, what are you guys going to do? Because you have some of your customers are businesses, small and medium or large businesses. They have a need, or they will have a need, depending on the situation, to accept crypto. What are you doing? Yeah, well, we're discussing and the management, but this and that, and it's taking this time, and we have the 6 months study project, and they're going to miss the boat for sure. But those are the ones that we need to go after, and they will sooner or later realize we are behind, and then they'll have to move. So it's all the payment providers. There are thousands of payment service providers, PSPs, who today only accept credit cards. They will all have to add crypto to their solution. They will all have to do that. If I'm right, if you guys do not believe that digital currencies is going to be a part of our future, don't invest in us. It's like saying, I don't believe the internet, it's a fad. I don't believe in the mobile phone, it's a fad. I don't believe in electric vehicles. This guy Musk, he doesn't, like everyone, not everyone, a lot of people said 5-10 years ago, he's not making money. All the naysayers, right? Every time there's a new technology, we have the naysayers.
Well, Peter, more than you, it's been, people talking about getting to the moon or getting on a rocket
sure,
ship and going
yeah,
on a quick trip. That's
yeah,
actually happening now. So
exactly.
I don't think what you're talking about, people don't recognize is it's right around the
Oh,
corner.
yeah, I don't know. I hear a lot of people like, I mean, I can tell you all those mid-level managers who wanted to move this, they're saying my board doesn't get it. I'm in the board of the bank. They don't get it. And yeah, so anyway, I do know, and that's what make markets, right? There are people who can see the opportunity here. There's a reason why Andreessen Horowitz and all the big VC funds out here in Silicon Valley have billion-dollar funds that they're pouring into this technology. So anyway, other questions? No? All right. Well, we thank you very much for your interest in the company. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We want to keep the communication going, and we try to be as approachable as we can. So thank you for your participation, and have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.